put issues within each of those roadways. So thanks for coming to these meetings. We would love to see your faces and input at these others. That was it, sorry.
All right, anybody else? All right, are we ready for a motion to move this forward to the Planning and Economic Development Committee?
You want me to make a motion?
Yes, sir. Mr. Smith?
I'll make a motion that the development standards be forwarded to the Planning and Economic Development Committee at the next meeting for their consideration.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Okay, let's move forward to 2021 goals, objectives, and strategies for implementation. We have no one signed up for comment on that one. So if everybody would flip back to those pages here. Mr. Chapman? I'll turn it over to you to see where we need to go from here.
Sure.
And I'm not pointing at anything because I don't want you to fall over.
Give me a second.
When,
Yes, sir.
when he gets finished fishing around,
Yes, sir.
I tied these to the input from the citizens. In other words, I went through them and I knew what the top comments were from the citizens so that maybe when we look at them, we can say, well, yeah, that one was one of the top, or that one was down at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, Mr. Smith is really good about serving to remind us that all those meetings that we went to and wrote all those little yellow things on the board, he's got the count of how many of those little yellow things related to each different thing. So thank you, Mr. Smith, we appreciate that.
The numbers guy.
Thank you for
And,
keeping the sticky notes.
Yes, and for keeping us trying to head down the same path. Are you gonna slip that over there, Mr. Chapman? Whoa, okay, don't do that, yeah, okay.
You well over there?
All right,
Yep. I'm in pretty good shape I'm in.
all right, now, Mr. Chapman, what do we need to do here?
So with this part, no, this is just an outline this is a chart of what Mr. Smith put together. As far as, during the comprehensive planning process, what things were most talked
Mention.
about.
Yeah.
And so if we want to, in terms of what we have regarding our 2021 goals, if you all want to pick out, as I mentioned, like at the last meeting, we're in 2020 still, we had two things to do, we got rolling with those. Let's plan out what are a few of these things for 2021 that you all see as a priority, and then we can prioritize them using the list of things, knowing that this will be an ongoing iterative process.
Is this gonna be a new to-do list for 2021? Because we had one for 2020. Is this gonna be a new to-do list?
That's kind of what I think, and what I'm hoping that we would be able to wrap up our 2020 list of things and get everything sent to council by the last meeting in December, if we can squeeze that in.
December this year?
Yes, sir. I mean, I'm not saying they'll vote on them by December of this year. I'm saying what I would like to see done is it moved to them. And then we can start on our 2021 list and keep going with our ongoing things as well. For me, it's pretty, 3.1.1.4, we're already facing, remove possible barriers to the development of a variety of housing options and residential development types. Not types necessarily so much, but certainly attainable housing. Anybody else real quickly scan through these?
I think that's one that we can maybe talk to the Home Builders Association, ask them, are there certain regulations that are hindering you from building affordable housing or attainable housing? What's driving the prices up other than astronomical?
Land values.
Yeah.
Right, things that we can address, right, sure.
Yeah, I think we were already starting with the maintained economic incentives for new and expanding industry. Probably also be able to touch on with Annie the what does she hear from industry where our young people are lacking in education? Yeah, I don't know about that 4.2.2.3, because we've been all having a conversation about the fact that there's more jobs than there are workers right now. And reducing commuting is not nearly as much as just finding somebody that'll pick up a hammer with any regularity. And
I think it comes back to the skill, though. We don't have, I don't think we have the skill level that we need to fill the jobs that we have. How are we educating our kids to get them into the jobs that we have available here? Are we pushing that? And maybe that's where we can work with the Career Center or whatever, the availability of the jobs that we have. Are we trying to get students into those fields?
Stacy, I saw a very interesting news article. Duke Energy was reaching out to high school students, those that had a chemistry background, in other words, and they had a 1-week little job fair, reaching out to them saying, get into chemistry and whatever, because we have openings. And a company like Duke will continue to pay for your education once you get on board, et cetera. These people, I mean, they're there, and, you just got to get out there and get that education.
Yeah, I don't think there's a connection between our industries and our schools. I think there's a gap there, that our schools aren't educating for the jobs that we have, and the jobs that we have are not reaching out to the schools and saying, this is the kind of things we need. This is the skill level we need, so that the two of them can work together.
Is that liaison, is there that person? Does it not exist, or are we just unaware of it?
So to answer, part of it's a Tri-County Tech and Industries, that's why Tri-County is where it's at here, is for very specifically just that purpose. If you look at their schedule of classes, but I mean, I'm not trying to answer the question. I think it's a good question to have. I think we can get with the board of Tri-County Tech. Looking at attainable housing, I did mention SHRM, the Society of Human Resources people. That's another great question for them. I mean, if we set up a meeting with them and all of a sudden we're talking about housing, but hey, housing is based on, affordability is based on your income, attainability is also based on your income, that's education based. I think it's all interconnected. So yes, that's a great question. Let's meet with SHRM.
I actually went to Tri-County, taking accounting, and it was surprising how the industries were coming in there and saying, okay, this is what we need. And they would provide the people to train the people with the machinery, et cetera. So Tri-County adapts very quickly to what the industry needs, but the industry has to go in there and, tell them exactly what they're looking for.
And isn't that exactly why Hamilton Career Center was built where it was built, was with the whole idea of having a training center
Right there.
centrally located in the county? But again, yeah, we've got to somehow get the school district on board with
Yes.
talking to those people about what they need.
Yep.
And that,
So they don't wait until after they graduate to
Right.
train themselves. They should
Right.
be doing it while they're.
Well,
That'll be
that connection
snapping up.
between the junior high and high school system with Tri-County, not just Tri-County to the industry.
That's right.
Right,
It has to
yeah.
start down there at a
Yeah.
lower
Because
level.
I know I just had 2 first-generation college students graduate. I mean, my kids were first-generation college graduates. I didn't know what I should be telling them to do. And I think we're lacking in our schools as far as in our high schools, reaching those kids to say, here's your opportunities, here's your choices. I don't think we're telling them, you can stay here at home, you can go to Tri-County Tech, you can go into this industry, and you can make good money. We're just telling them, go get you a 4-year degree. And we're not encouraging them in any certain direction. We're not giving them their options.
You get them through in 4 years?
I got one through in 4 years, I got one through in 2 years.
I wasn't so fortunate.
do you need anything from us other than perhaps would it be good to rank these, or say, yes, we'd like to tackle these 5 first?
I mean, if we're not prepared to do that today, I would like to work on it, at least if you all want to work on it independently, and we come back next meeting and say, okay, here's, 2021, these are my top 3 or top 5 or top however, these are the ones that really kind of float to the top of the pile. If education and housing are the ones that float to the top of the pile, then we can do it, because they're, in the comp plan, they're not ranked. They're just put in order there. It's up for us to rank and do stuff.
Quinn,
Yes, sir.
if we're gonna work on a list, the strategies and all, we need to add one other item to the list. It's an annual thing, but it's something very important, and it'd be strategy 7.2.3. 2, provide local public safety agencies appropriate assistance in obtaining funding to expand and upgrade opportunities for operations, such as the lack of policemen we have in the county. I mean, we can't hire police, we're just planning commission, but we can also recommend to council that they look into our public safety and maybe consider hiring, some more officers. Right now, we're down on the scale of how many we should have, so I think we need to add that to the goals and objectives. Talk about it.
Adam, when our census numbers come out, will that affect the county sheriff's department?
It'll affect everything. Veterans Administration, library, roads. When census numbers are super impactful, I hope everyone filled out their census. It's over now. They only have so much to do, so yes, it will.
Just to throw out a number, right now, our sheriff's office is below the minimum of officers that we should have in the county per the population. We should have around 120 officers. We only have 109. And most of them are overwhelmed with what crime we do have in the county. Some of them are overwhelmed trying to get things done. So that was my suggestion, maybe getting the council to look at this and seeing what they can do about getting us some more officers in the county to get us closer to that minimum standard. And it will go up. If the census is raised, that minimum standard will go from 120 to 150, then we're gonna be that much further behind. So it's something that they need to look at now to maybe get a few officers, and then we won't be so far behind on the minimum standards of safety in the county, because we don't protect our citizens. What good is the government doing? That's one of their jobs.
Right, and I mean, I'm certainly good with adding that to the list, because it is an ongoing thing, and we have not recently addressed all the ongoing things we're supposed to be looking at. The other thing I'd like to ask Mr. Chapman, would it be proper for us to request that our Agricultural Advisory Board look at these 2021 strategies and see if there's something they would like to tackle?
That's outside of the ag element, because the ag element one I've already brought them.
You've already done that?
For the ag side. But if you think outside of that, if you'd like some input from them, generally speaking, I'm quite sure they would give you their input.
I would love to have them look at these and just see if there's, I know they have their own list of things to take care of, but if there's something on here, or if there's an overlap that they see, that they could say, hey, we don't need this here, let's make sure that, because I noticed a number of these have agricultural things with them, so, everybody okay with that? If we ask them to give us some feedback or input on what they think? Yes, sir?
Adam had asked us if we wanted to rank these items in items of importance to us. I think our citizens have actually already ranked these. I'd be willing to get with Mr. Smith if you want to sit there and go back through those yellow sticky notes or go back to those categories.
Mike, you're right on, you're ahead of me on this. I was gonna ask Gwen if I could get together with Adam and go through what I've got here and see if we can't put it on a list, what the citizens said and what coincides with what we've got in here, so that we're sure that we're doing what the citizens asked us to do. And, rank it accordingly, and then if you guys can pick it apart and say, well, yeah, this or that or whatever. But I think that would mean more to the citizenry and say, yeah, we're listening and we're trying to get things in an order.
If you want to give me a call and we can set that up, or set that up with Adam or whatever, and we'll go through and just put numbers beside these.
I don't sleep, so anytime.
You need a motion and a vote on that one?
not if they're gonna,
if they're just gonna do
Good
it
stuff.
together. Is everybody okay with them doing that and coming back to us with sort of a scoring system? And if you need to throw in some ongoing ones
Sure.
that maybe aren't on the, don't have a date yet, but that certainly would be something to shoot for.
Now you're
Are
asking
y'all
for
okay?
homework, I'm not.
I'm sorry.
too much.
We've got coffee. We can do that. All right, so we've added the public safety, what do we have versus need, in order to maintain? I mean, I would certainly like to see the county maintain height above the very least that they recommend. Funding is tied to that, say, such for libraries as
You know,
well,
the-
law enforcement.
The libraries, yeah, the census is, I mean, that's why Blair Hinson, our director of libraries, I mean, he was our super cheerleader with the census, because he is very aware of how closely libraries are tied to, their funding is tied to the number of heads in that county. And so he was awesome, the entire census, even when they weren't working, he was still working on it, so. Hopefully, we will have the census numbers back by April of 2022. It just takes a long time to compile stuff,
Yeah.
so.
All right. Are we good to go, Mr. Chapman?
I think I'm clear on everything you all asked me for. I think I'm clear on that these two are gonna do some work for y'all for the next meeting.
That's three.
All right, we're gonna rank them, and everybody is good, nobody has any further questions? Are we ready to entertain a motion to adjourn?
Ma'am,
Yes, sir?
can I make a comment about educating non-college kids working in Alabama?
Certainly, yes, sir.
They-
Absolutely.
they get-
Yeah, come up here if you don't mind, so it's on the record. We won't remember it, so we need to make sure it's on the recording.
When I lived in Alabama, they had a program there, and it started with Toyota when they moved in. Toyota, just like Duke wants chemistry, I bet they want nuclear chemistry. What they did is they would work with the industry to say, what trades do you need and what skills do you need? And then what they would do is, they were very fleet of foot. They would make changes in the community colleges, but they would move a trailer in close to the facility. And on that trailer, they would equip it with equipment loaned to them by the industry that was asking for help. And they would train these young people in the skills they needed, and they were all high-paying jobs. Now, these were kids who were still pretty smart, but had no desire to go to college, and it worked.
Right, that's awesome. And I think that, I would love to see some of our guidance counselors in our schools doing that. But they gotta get out and do that, so.
I
Yes,
watched
sir.
Boeing when they came down to the coast and started building airplanes. And you had the government, the FAA, looking over their training and whatever. And it was very interesting how a large company like what he was mentioning and another company, Boeing and whatever, how they can come in and set up the training program and get the local schools involved and whatever, and really do it
And then they'll
right.
turn around and offer them the jobs. So, I mean, that's
That's
awesome.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But you just gotta figure out which one's gonna take the dive first.
yeah, for sure. Yes, sir?
For the gallery, if you don't mind, your high school should,
I'm sorry, yes, sir. It's just always great to have it on record.
Understood,
Just let us know
understood.
who you are, and then we'll close it out. It's okay, you don't have to keep it
all
there.
right.
You're-
I'm Carl Steiner. I also just moved in from Illinois. My wife was head of college and career counseling at the high school in our community, and her job was to do exactly what you're talking about. So I'd highly recommend, if you haven't already, reach out to the head of student services at all the high schools. They have a college and career center, and it always starts out with college, but the reality is, most of these kids shouldn't be going to college. They should be going to trade school. They should be learning how to be whatever it is, welders, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, that sort of stuff, working in the plants around here. Those are great jobs. So I would highly recommend that if you can, reach out directly to the high school, and then also reach out, I don't know whether they have unions down here. We had unions up there.
No.
Hey, Understood.
That's a
Okay.
bad word down here.
Part of the reason I moved here. That's part of the reason I moved down here. But there are building councils that are looking for these people. So reach out directly to them. The schools will definitely have these programs. The building councils will definitely have these programs. So just a recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We might want to get all these folks' contact information to Mr. Chapman if possible. And now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Yes, sir, Frankie?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? I don't think we have